Hi, tournament prep parents. I hope everyone's doing well. This is something I wanted to share with all the kids and all the families. And it's just to sometimes take a step back and breathe because I feel oftentimes, and I'm around so many kids, so many tournaments every single day, and I see it not just in our kids, but in all kinds of kids, right? In kids all over, is this stress to perform and put up scores. And I want to be clear, right? Putting up great numbers is amazing. Winning tournaments is amazing. That's the point of golf, is to kind of compete, to grow, to test yourself. But a lot of times there's this stress, and I want to put things in perspective. Even if your goal is to be a Division I athlete, which I'd say is one of the biggest goals that a lot of people have, right? Or a professional golfer, but let's say D1 athlete as like a shorter term goal, right? Even if that's your goal, none of the scores that you're putting up in these U.S. kids tournaments are going to count towards that, right? And so the junior golf scoreboard, which is what they're going to evaluate, it's not going to count until you're playing 2-day 18-hole events, until you're playing 36 holes. Usually that's around age 14 or 15 when you start doing that. And so if you are younger than, let's say, 13 or 14, which most of the kids that we work with are, and the kids that I see in tournaments, you don't have to have so much stress to put up these numbers now. Of course, have goals to grow. Of course, have goals, to get better. Like, that's the whole point of the game. But this stress to, like, I need to shoot in the 70s, even if you're not shooting what you want right now, if you just map out, like, hey, I have a couple years to get to scratch. I have a couple years to get to par. And I say this for the parents, too, because I know that maybe you see other kids shooting even par in other tournaments, and you feel this inherent stress, like maybe we need to get our kid there, too. And, of course, we should all shoot for that. But you have to keep in mind, a lot of the kids that shoot even par in tournaments, not all of them, but a lot of them don't have lives. A lot of them are homeschooled. A lot of them don't sleep over with friends. A lot of them don't play other sports. A lot of them are not kids. They're not normal kids, and that's okay. That's the path they chose, but it's probably not the path that everybody wants for their children or most of these kids want. And the reality is most of those kids will burn out. And so one of the hardest things in golf, and this is something I always come back to in sports, is having the patience to do the right thing. Having the patience to sacrifice some of the short-term gains for long-term success, because most kids will quit golf. That's the truth. And most kids won't make it because they stopped playing, not because they weren't good enough. So if you just have the patience to stick to a process, to go step by step, to not get enamored by a score in a tournament that doesn't matter, and to say, hey, we're just going to improve. We're going to get better. We're going to grind. We're going to get stronger. If we can transmit that to the kids, the results are exponential. The sky's the limit. Because if your kid's 12, which is already kind of old, you still have 2 years to get there, right? If your kid's 7, we have like so much time. So there's literally no rush, right? What we should be hyper-focused on and putting all our emotion into is getting better, growing, getting stronger mentally, physically, technically, and not so hyper-focused on getting to a number, because if you get to even par at 8 years old, it doesn't do anything. I had a lot of kids that shot even when I was 8. I went to Worlds when I was 7, right? And I was one of those like super intense golf kids, and I can tell you it didn't do anything during the college recruitment. Nobody was like, oh, what do you do at 7? No one cares. They care what you're doing at 14, 15. So everything before that is practice. So take a step back, have that perspective with your child, and maybe your goals aren't to play in college, but if that is the big goal, then it's important to have the patience to say, hey, right now, our goal is not to win all the tournaments. Now, play to win, play hard. Like, don't misinterpret the message, right? Play every tournament to win. Play every tournament to shoot your best score ever. But at the same time, that's micro intensity, have the macro patience to be like, no matter if we win or we don't, it doesn't mean that much, right? And if your kid's one of the kids that wins all the time, it also doesn't mean that much. Like, we still have to be good at 14, 15, so you got to be thinking about, let me make sure this lasts. Let me make sure we haven't sacrificed their childhood for them to do this, or else they're going to burn out too. And so regardless of where your kid's at, having that patience to say, hey, nothing counts till 15, realistically. Scotty Scheffler famously said, like, the goal is not to be, or his coach, the goal is not to be the best kid at 8, it's to be the best kid at 15, and that's the truth, right? And really now it's like almost older. And so we have a lot of time. Focus on building great foundations. Don't sacrifice the long-term gains for the short-term results. Because if you go practice 8 hours a day on the range, you'll probably win some tournaments in the short term. But you're not going to build a solid mental foundation, physical foundation, all of these other things, which is what we want. We want the kids to grow and to get better so that at the moment where it counts, we can strike with everything we've got. And those are the kids that'll make it. And you can see this in a lot of the tour pros, in a lot of the collegiate athletes. A lot of them weren't winning tournaments at 8, right? Very, very few of them. There's exceptions to everything. And so something so important to keep in mind is take a deep breath. We have time. I even say this to the kids, like, we have 2 years if you're 12 to get really, really good, right? And that's plenty of time. And when you remove that pressure, you can actually grind without getting so caught up in the day-to-day. So I hope this helps. Share it with the kids, show it to the kids, and have that meeting with them where you sit down and say, hey, we've got time, even if those goals are big. So let's work hard. Let's play hard. Let's focus. Let's grind. But let's not focus on winning a tournament right now. Let's focus on playing the best golf we can play, and we will win tournaments.